Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business Radio, the show about ways to stay competitive in a changing market, break through business plateaus, and respond to the changing expectations of today's customers. Your host, Jess Dewell, is a rapid growth entrepreneur, consultant, and business advocate with a 20-year track record of business excellence. She candidly discusses how to achieve your growth strategy and realize your company's unfulfilled potential. Now, here's Jess.
You are in the right place for conversations about current needs that we as business leaders face regarding technology, changing customer expectations, and quickly changing markets. This program is about what it means to reach short-term goals and increase confidence in our longer-term positioning. This is program 196, Motivating Others. It's a special kind of topic for me because no matter how many people we talk to, there are always new ways and different takes. So the women that will be joining me today as panelists on the show are bringing their takes, and you're going to align with some and you'll be a little dissonant with some. And here's the cool thing. The cool thing about all of it is that together we find the path through the message. So when we're talking about motivation of ourselves and others, we're on a path, and we have to discern what works and what doesn't. And I'm excited about this type of conversation because of the many viewpoints, two of which we get to focus on today. First joining us is Chloe Edwards, and she is a motivational speaker and mentor. She works with adoptees who feel lost or alone, and she helps them change their mindset to be more positive, as well as build their self-confidence to be leaders in their own lives. And also joining us today is Heidi Mazur, a 12-year-strong lifestyle entrepreneur. Then she is focused on improving our health through essential oils as a young living essential oils business owner. Heidi, Chloe, welcome to the Voice of Bold Business Radio.
Thank you.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad, because this is what it's all about, right? It's about the conversation. It's about what we get to do going forward. So I'm curious, Chloe, how do you know what motivates somebody? What's really important to them?
So when I meet someone for the first time or start working with someone, I really like to ask, it's simply, what motivates you? But I understand that sometimes people just don't know. And or maybe they'll be shy about it. And if that's the case, then maybe I'll inquire about, what do you volunteer for? What do you do when you're tired and you want to re-energize yourself? I think that's really important. And of course, we're going to have those people that, say nothing. And if that's the case, then I can do a background question by just asking, hey, what do you do on the weekends? What do you do on Saturday? What do you do on Sunday? But my trick of the question is, then what do you like to do on Monday? Because I think that gives you a little insight of what they view, what maybe a perfect work life is. And so for me, a perfect Monday would be traveling somewhere. And so I realize that my ability to be able to travel is what motivates me to get other things done.
All right. So as always, there are like 5 things I could pull out of this so we could keep going. We must wait because there's going to be more, and there's going to be 5 more things that I'm going to want to pull out and have a conversation about. Heidi, how do you know what motivates someone and what's really important to them?
That's a really great question. So I'm going to answer this question from a network marketing perspective because I am involved with Young Living Essential Oils. So with any network marketing, MLM, direct sales company, the motivation is to make extra income, especially the residual income, work from home, have your own hours, be your own boss, stay at home with the kids. Those are things that motivate. So just by knowing the person, I can kind of gather that information. If they say, hey, if I ask them, a question about, tell me about yourself. So I can know their motivation from just knowing that. And a lot of times there are multiple kids having a lot of expenditures with competitive sports, and it's not in a family's budget. So to make that extra income from a mom standpoint, I am happy to help support them in their competitive sports. And with me, from Young Living, besides making money and staying at home, I also get to hang out with other like-minded, health-conscious individuals. And that there creates a bond that I may not otherwise have had with them. And I love to learn about all aspects of healthy living and the not so healthy, so I can stay away from that. So when I learn something, I like to tell people about it. And I like to educate them and spread the good news. So I do, that's my motivation. And of course, you know, I like to empower other women as well. So if I can make them feel good about themselves, while they're having, you know, better skin, better hair, you know, better health, make a little extra income, that motivates me to continue with what I'm doing.
All right, so we're going to just do this with the motivation because we've got a little of the in and we've got a little of the out, and we're going to stick with the in. What motivates us? Because when we can hold up that mirror, when we can see how do we react to different things, what are clues about ourselves that help us understand what makes us want to go forward, helps us root it out for other people, with other people, and before they may even know themselves, depending on what our role in our relationship with the people that we interact with are. And so thinking about the inside, you know, Chloe, you shared a little bit about what motivates you by thinking about Mondays. That was fantastic. So of course, now I'm thinking, what do I do on Mondays? And I'm like, Mondays sometimes are my Fridays. And so that's something to sit with and to be able to explore. What would be some other tips that you both could share about finding the our internal intrinsic motivators, the things that we run toward, we'll leave everything else behind for?
So I'm a very big writer downer. So sometimes if I feel super lost and I just like don't know where my head is at, and I'm like, why do I feel so downtrodden? I like to keep track of what did I do that day and try to keep track for at least a solid week of what were the activities that I did, and did it fill me up? Was it neutral, or did I feel less of any kind? Because sometimes you're just doing things constantly and you're not analyzing how it's making you feel. And I go to minute as answering emails, to walking the dog, to grabbing a coffee. So not just the big events in the day, but even little. And what were they that brought me up? And how can I have more of those into my life? And usually there becomes like a larger photo.
Interesting. What would you add to that, Heidi?
I would add that I actually enjoy talking to people, and it doesn't matter what it is, but if I can help them in any way, that makes me happy, and that makes me feel like I'm successful. I'm helping the community by doing something. That does motivate me greatly.
Besides asking the question, what are some nonverbal ways that you pick up on what excites somebody?
In Pineapple Mindset, when someone reaches out to have me as a coach, I give a 15-minute complimentary just coaching session. Because I know how hard it is to start to share feelings and to be vulnerable, and that you're going to dive very differently with different people. And I think just the genuine feeling that person will get will then outwardly start to be more detailed with their answers. You'll see in their voice if it's shaky or not, and if it's confident or not, or if it's bright. Then you'll also see them being more eager in asking you questions. And I think that shows that relationship barrier that, you know, in the beginning is sometimes there, hasn't broken down.
And for me, if somebody comes to me and they ask me a question, hey, what oil is this good for? Or I have this health problem, what oil is good for that? Even though I can't give out medical advice, I can still point them in the right direction. So by them actually coming to me and asking me questions is a motivation that they are interested in learning a more healthier lifestyle.
So really, we're talking about psychology and sales, huh?
Yes.
It's not funny. We got this cool, flowery name, motivating others. We've got this great question that talks about how do we do this? And in the end, we're talking about observing, listening, engaging with, and really trying to discern, do we have a match here? Whatever that match is that we're looking for. When there is, how about this? When there's not a match, right? What if there's dissonance somewhere along? When there's not a match, what do you do?
I think just be completely open and honest, because if it's in a friendship, in a working relationship or a group, you want to make sure that everyone is feeling comfortable. And if one person isn't, most likely the other person isn't either. And if someone is confident enough and open enough to be like, hey, like, I think that you are a great person and I want you to figure out X, Y, Z. I don't think that I will be the best resource for you, but here are maybe some other resources.
For me, I have had a lot of people that have brushed me off as far as talking about oils, whether it's because they are involved in a competitor's company. They don't want to learn anything else about somebody else's company that may sell the same thing. There have been times where people have said, oh, I've done this and I have had this happen to me and it wasn't good. So therefore, everything is not good concerning this, And you can argue with them till they're blue in the face, but there are just certain people that just will not listen to you and say, oh, I made a mistake, or oh, I chose the wrong thing. So you do have to listen, but you don't want to make an argument with them either. And you still want to have that friendship. Right.
And you figure out how to temper that. And it's almost like sometimes, in addition to religion and politics, there are some other things that come up that we just don't talk about with certain people. And that's okay. And that's okay. Thinking about workplace, right? Whether this is your upline or downline, whether this is other coaches that you're working with. I'm also thinking about maybe past positions that you have been in, where there have been interpersonal relationships that we get to spend a lot of time with people, right? And so those interpersonal relationships really make a difference. And our ability to show up and be present for that matters, because in those cases, sometimes people around us, we get to choose who they are, and sometimes we don't. And so what if you're in a situation where there's a need for motivation? We've got to get that buy-in, right? There's the buy-in to go forward and do something. And there's that person. That person. What do we do? What have you done in the past to break through or facilitate, or whatever path you have chosen to actually maybe not necessarily create buy-in, but at least create conversation?
So for me, working in a retail store, I interact very much with like a full team of people every single day on very odd hours from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. So you see every side of a human being. And
I can only imagine. Yes.
And
wait, I could look at myself. I see that.
So of course, you're going to see people, even behind the scenes too, not just in front of customers, but also in the back room. And when there are clashes, especially when there's clashes with someone higher than you, that can cause really a lot of distress when you're constantly on your feet and you're working, you have to be interacting with other humans all the time. And so for me, when there is dissonance between, if it's a boss, then I like to be open and honest with them yet again. If that's like, hey, like, can we talk for 30 minutes, like set some time on the calendar, not just a random pull aside, because I find that no one's in like the right mind frame, that they're thinking about something else and you're not totally focused. So set up a meeting and then just say within I terms of, I'm feeling this during working shifts. Like, I don't want to feel this. I give maybe these suggestions of like, when you say XYZ, I feel this. I don't think that's your intention, but I would love to understand your reasoning behind it. And then in addition, if it's coworkers, sometimes the pull aside quickly does work well. And then also just like going out for a drink or going out for a coffee, get out of work and get out of that arena. And then maybe again, you'll see the quote unquote, like real them, where they're more relaxed. It's in like a very, neutral environment that they feel like they can just be who they are.
So for me, with an upline and a downline both, my upline is supposed to motivate me. And if I'm an upline to somebody, I'm supposed to motivate them. Now, and we're all working as a team, right? Because the bottommost person does a lot of things. They sell, they buy, and it all trickles up in commissions to your upline. So we, as an upline person, need to motivate those people and be nice and work with them. The problem in upline, downline is not so much that, it's the cross line. The cross lines can be a problem, or it just depends on the personality. There are a lot of people who do good, and they want to help out anybody in the same company, no matter if you're in their downline or not. And there are some that are just out for the money and out for those people and out for the sales, and they will do anything to not help you as a cross line. And they will put conditions on your friendship.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens. And that's interesting because, okay, so I'm going to bring in a different element. Everything that was just shared, these tips for interpersonal relationships, they are all about, I like how you said it, Heidi, just be nice to each other. There's that element of humanity that we're all here and we all have a mission and we've chosen to be here. So now what? That's our common point. So now what? That said, though, when you're talking about uplines, downlines, and crosslines, that's like my manager, my employees, my peers, whether they're in my department or my peers from another department, right? Cross-functional teams, if you will, within an organization. And so as you were talking about that, I'm like, oh yeah, every company that I work with that has 2 or 3 levels of hierarchy, and it doesn't matter how broad they are, it doesn't matter how deep it goes, there's always that who motivates who and where the motivation comes from. And so, I'm thinking about growth, right? I'm thinking about our personal growth. I'm thinking about our team growth and in our respective businesses and the listeners also. And finding those motivators that Heidi was just talking about, of the ones that want to help no matter what, right? They can be within our organization and be informal or formal mentors. They can be outside of our organization and informal and formal mentors. So, my question to you then would be, do you look to your mentors to motivate, or is that a separate type of relationship that you're looking for?
I think it's a separate type of relationship.
Tell us more.
Because I can learn from my mentors. I can learn from my upline. I can learn from a really high crossline person. But it's me who is going to take that information and any takeaways that I have from that and apply it to my team. And the friends that I know that are in my crossline, I'm going to want to help them too, because we're all in it together. We have the same motivation. We all want to work as a team and create an income for our families.
usually if I choose a mentor, it's because I'm already looking up to them. I see that they have done something successful. And if I'm already going to be listening to their steps, and clearly their steps are what motivating me because I want to be like them. So I think just intuitively as a mentor, there's just motivation all around. And it doesn't end up being anyone's job per se, but I think just the lessons and the relationship that is formed becomes motivation.
This is the Voice of Bold Business Radio. Use hashtag VBB Radio. Email us radio@reddirection.com and join in this conversation about motivation. We want to dig deep. We want to see what there is to see, and we want to learn from each other and our experiences. We're going to do that right after this. What are the success measures that your organization uses to track growth strategy performance? I ask this because on February 1st, I am hosting the Growth Strategy Summit, and we are going to be talking about understanding what it is and why we use a growth strategy, and how that growth strategy ties to our roles as leaders within the organization, and how that is modeled out to the employees within our organization, so that we are all moving in the same direction toward growth, using our company values, using our company vision, and delivering on the company mission with every action that we take. So, how to use our growth strategy, how we can make sure that we're in alignment with that growth strategy in our actions that we're taking, the methodologies that must be included for a successful growth strategy, as well as understanding what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like, the experience of success for us and for our teams. Friday, February 1st is the Growth Summit in Thornton, Colorado, which is the greater Denver area. Go to growthstrategysummit.com to get your tickets today.
You are listening to the Voice of Bold Business Radio. In every program, we share stories, tips, and concepts that benefit short-term goals and increase confidence in long-term positioning. For additional perspectives on your growth strategy, Jess Dewell is your business advisor and consultant. Go to voiceofboldbusiness.com and click the Find Out More button to get started. Now, back to Jess.
All right, this is program 196, Motivating Others, and I'm talking with Heidi and Chloe. And you know what? These business owners are bringing in information, yes, from a structure of how this works in an organization, and a little bit about how it works within us. And for us to really be the good models that we must be to achieve the growth that we are attempting to get for ourselves, for our businesses, for our teams, for the people that we choose to be strategic partners with, whatever those relationship bonds are, it always starts with us. And so I'm going to jump back in with this question for Chloe and Heidi. I want to know, and I know our audience also wants to know, how do you personally, when you are having a bad day, when you're having a bad week, find motivation to shift your mindset?
So for me, I always think about the 5 love languages, and how I receive love is through personal time and through touch. And so that means that the personal time, the touch, again, energizes me and I feel connected. And so if I'm feeling down during the day, it's been a bad day, I want to make sure that I find a companion that I can interact with, if it's through a coffee date or just a wine night or a movie night. That helps me then get re-energized and to forget about maybe the negative stuff that happened, because I feel so loved from that person.
For me, if I'm having a really bad day or maybe just a bad hour, please remember that I have kids and I'm a mom, and I do have those times. And so if somebody asks me a question, usually it's by either text message or email or maybe a Facebook Messenger. I have to wait until I'm at that moment where I can answer them without those negative feelings inside of me. And And then I can take the time because they don't need me being mean to them or answering them in a way that I shouldn't be. If they're asking me a question, they're in need of something, and I need to be myself in a good mood. You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. I know I take timeouts, right? That's one of those things where they say timeouts are bad for kids. Well, they are when they're punishment. They don't really encourage a dialogue or a conversation. However, not only did we do this with our son, who is now 7, I learned this and I do this. We are also doing it for our brand new puppy, right? And this is, yes, I can't wait to show you pictures. This is, he's 10 weeks old. And he goes we kennel him at night, and we've called it his place. And anytime he's tired or laying down or doesn't quite know what to do, we just call him over and invite him to his place. And he may stay there for like enough to get all 4 feet in and come right back out, but he may stay there for 2 or 3 hours and just rest. And so it can work for any creature is where I'm going with this, big or small, young or old, whatever's going on, having a place to be able to walk away to. And we don't have to be mad or sad or upset or tired or any of that stuff to just do it. Maybe we just want to take a break. We want a time out to just take stock of what's actually happening, because sometimes that's what we have to do, right? We have to stop and understand what's actually happening so we know how to move forward. And we know if we're able to have some sort of a, not only for ourselves, be able to seek what we want, actively be engaged with what we want. Are we motivated by the next action we're going to take? But also, are we going to be the best person that we can be so that we can help others take stock for themselves too?
So I live with my boyfriend, and so, my space ends up being his space as well, in a small little tiny apartment. And of course, there are both times when we have bad days. That's just life. And instead of kind of laying it all on him, I just always want to warn him, be like, hey, this is what happened today. I am not in the greatest mood. I may be extremely short with you and maybe bite at your neck a little bit, but know that I still love you and I care for you. But unfortunately, this is my space to let it go. And I think I do that with friends as well. Be like, if we had plans to meet up, be like, this is what happened. I'm being frank with you. This is how I may react. I am sorry. I love you. But this is what needs to happen, because like your dog, I don't have a place per se, but I want some time to maybe decompress a little bit. But also I want them to know that, your dog still loves you and cares for you. And I do want to show that love.
For somebody who's like, well, I want to motivate myself. I want to motivate others. And I hear that everybody is saying it requires some self-awareness so I know my own feelings. What would you suggest be a step or some tips to start moving toward that first step of self-awareness?
So I believe in vulnerability, and I think self-awareness is almost very equal to just being vulnerable with yourself, with other people. And that's one of the pillars in pineapple mindset of a pineapple is strong, but also sweet, and to respect both of your emotions and to be able to share all of them and to be aware of them as well. And so some tips that I could give people is, 1, people tend to rant if they're angry. Usually they have a friend they're ranting to, or, someone close. And as you're texting and your thumbs are getting just a wee bit tired, take a step back and see what you're saying. Figure out what are these issues and why are you angry? Because actually when it's being typed out in front of you, it's a little bit easier to review your emotions. If you don't have anyone to text to and they're all inside here, some people aren't writers like me. You have a notepad in your phone and just start typing every single thought that's in your head. Don't care about typos, don't care about grammar or whatever. And you'll just start to, again, see these ideas forming of, oh, this annoys me so much. My boss did this, XYZ, and I feel so angry. I feel angry because I feel unappreciated. Well, now you've come to the reasoning that you're not just angry at your boss, you're angry at maybe his reaction to some of your work. And now you can logically talk to your boss about what you need to be motivated.
So for me, as far as self-awareness goes, you really need to put your innermost feelings aside when you are doing business, because those business people or business prospects do not know what you're doing at home or what you're going through at the office. They don't know, so they shouldn't be treated like that. So you really need to separate whatever emotions you're going through from the business perspective aspect of it.
I'm thinking back to a story, and I think if you each have a story, this would be great to share about how to discover how you are able to motivate others, right? So you've got this level of at least a desire, a drive, something that is necessary that has to bring people together and move them in the same direction. And a story that I've shared, I don't know if I've ever shared it on the air, and I just now started to think it was funny enough that I could share, and it didn't hurt, it wasn't a little too close to home, if you will. And that is, when I was in my early 20s, I had a team of 10. And by the time I was 22 to 23, I had a team of 30. And I had them on-site and remotely. And I knew that my only experience before that was selling Girl Scout cookies and babysitting. Okay. I went straight from that to big business, lots of, stuff that you don't even know. So I was like, well, I want to be a good manager. I want to be able to lead effectively. I don't even understand what that means to have leadership. So I started to manage by self-help book, and it didn't work. In fact, it was horrible. Everybody hated the fact they were like, and I almost turned our staff meetings, and I would say, I bet a few of them would say I did turn our staff meetings into like book clubs, where there was this thing that I read and it was great. And I was like, oh, everybody could do this. And if we could all at least try it, we'll change direction. And so I would bring these books to the meetings, and I'd get eye rolls, and I'd get silence, and I'd get, it was like pulling teeth along the way. And finally I was like, you know what? All right, well, it's not working for everybody. So maybe my job isn't to develop everybody that way. Maybe my job is to develop me. And as soon as I took those out of the meetings, I shouldn't say as soon as, it took a few months, because they were like, is it coming back? Is it coming back? Do we have to do this again? They got to the point where they saw me changing, but they did not see this thing that they did not like, because they were in a different place. They were doing different things. They had different intentions, and they had different motivations. So once I realized that motivating everybody was not doing the same thing, but it was something where we could, I could see where each person was individually. And so I had to learn like 10 years worth of stuff in a really short period of time. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad they hated it. I'm glad I figured all that out. I am glad that it was a horrible, horrible manager leadership misstep, because it made me realize that old adage, you can only lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Same thing applies when you're motivating other people. I realized I could only lead by example. And when I put my best self forward, when I set a direction that was clear, when I provided the boundaries for that, everybody else got to show up in their full respective positions and places. And not only did we actually get along, we still had a decent amount of high turnover because it was very high pressure, but we also grew exponentially during that time. So there were 3 key takeaways from that I had from that experience of questioning, how do I motivate others with the lack of experience in this particular position that I had. So I'm curious from you, do you have a story of that, where something where you've gone through this trying to motivate others, and what that the twists and turns might have been?
So I worked at an international company in South Korea where I had 13 different people from all 13 different countries. And as you can probably guess, they all have different cultures, weird, different team management styles and communication styles that we always like to talk about in leadership and business running. And we had to come up with a brand image that could fit globally, but then also work under that umbrella for each country. And as you know, you can probably guess, everyone was motivated for very different ways. They're motivated for being in Korea for the first place, motivated in different reasons, why they're working at this company specifically, and then motivated on their reasons behind why this application would be a benefit for their country. And instead of building it all out first as a big group, I pulled them each one aside and had a 30-minute meeting with them to understand, again, what their motivations are behind everything. And one helped me get to know them personally by just getting to know my coworkers of, what do you like to do? What brought you to Korea from Thailand? Or what brought you to Korea from Japan or from Egypt? Because just so many people coming from all over the world. And understanding that motivation then helps me understand how to push them to get some work done. So some were there purely because they had a girlfriend and they were followed them to this was a better lifestyle than in Korea. And so how I communicated with them would be a little bit differently. Some didn't care about the business in general. So I want to be like, hey, so you can have some free time this weekend. Like, can you finish this by 5 p.m. today? And then we don't have to worry about it in the weekend. You have it to yourself. To maybe they needed to get like a fire lit under their butt and be like, we are in a deadline. We need this right now. But some people really want that. So you never know the difference until, again, you sit down and understand what their communication style is, what their motivation is. Because me just yelling at people to get things done, they could care less majority of the time.
I have to sometimes motivate people. I have to get them a foot in the door. I have to get them to take the first step. If I'm not pushy to some level of pushiness, they may just forget about it and walk away. Do I want them to do that? No, because I want them to create their own account and buy product with Young Living and use it. You know, you have to be a buyer and a user of the company's products that you are in. And I have to keep touching base with these people, because if I don't, they may drop off. And I have to get them motivated. I would say if they come to me and they have a question about something, I may not come up with an answer right away for them, but if I come across an article or something useful around that particular question, I will definitely email them and say, hey, I thought this might be of interest to you. And that will motivate them, because they're like, oh, I didn't think of that. Yes, you're right. This is a good thing. Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the next step and I'm going to buy this product and I'm going to use it for what I need to use it for.
What makes it bold to embrace the concept of how to motivate others in your own personal leadership?
It's bold to incorporate motivation into my leadership or into your leadership style, because that means that you're diving just a little bit deeper into your partner, your business companions and whatnot. And if you're diving deeper to figure out what motivates them, that means you're getting to know them better. You guys are probably both sharing feelings a little bit more. And to me, that's bold, being able to be vulnerable and to share your emotions and to have the courage to even ask.
For me, what makes it bold in my industry is just do it. Just do it. Take that step and just do it. What is stopping you? You know? So sometimes you do have to reach out and give that encouragement to people because they just don't know. It's too overwhelming. You know, having a healthy lifestyle, there are so many aspects of it. You don't know where to start. Just pick one thing or two things and work with that, get comfortable, then add another one or two more things. Get comfortable. And this could take 3 months. It could take 6 months. Just do it.
And there you have it, Chloe and Heidi. On this program 196, Motivating Others. You'll find program notes at voiceofboldbusiness.com/P196. That is voiceofboldbusiness.com/P for program 196. You can also search the site for Motivating Others. It's time for you to keep this conversation going. Use hashtag VBB Radio. Use email address radio@reddirection.com. Tell us what you think. Tell us how you motivate others. Share one of those stories that it's interesting looking back and seeing, was I motivating? Was I not? Did we motivate well? Did we not? And so that we can learn from each other these intrinsic sales and psychology elements that we all know because we're human. We do them because we're human, and we want to call them out. We want to look at them a little closer because we want to foster interpersonal relationships, our personal leadership, as well as our company's growth. So with that, you can totally and completely rate this program. Tell us what you think of what Chloe and Heidi have been sharing with us. And you can do that on iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are listening on your preferred listening platform. There's a way to rate us and share feedback. Do it. Do it, do it. And let's keep this going. Keep this going. Come back and listen for more on the next Tuesday, the next Friday, as always. So this is what we would like to leave you with. We can achieve growth by motivating others.
The Voice of Bold Business Radio gives you insights about how to achieve your company's growth strategy. When you aren't seeing the growth results you want, it's time to get an outside perspective. To discuss your specific situation around growth strategy, work with us. Visit voiceofboldbusiness.com and click Find Out More. Special thanks to the Scott Treatment for technical production. Thank you for joining us.